What's up everybody, iRisk V3 back here with yet another video. And as you can plainly see, this will be a video about the Arrowhead V3, which is the base that you see before you, and hopefully, if I did my work right, you got a decent preview of. So, why am I making this video? Every single time I end up with this base design, I commonly get asked upwards of about 100 times per stream what this base design is, if I've made a video on it, if it's my base design or if it's somebody else's, etc, etc. So here, I'm going to put that to rest by showing you guys the history behind this base design and how I got to this point and why I made the decisions that I did. So, how did this all start? The Arrowhead V1, the base you see before you, and where it got its name is, well, right before you. As you can see, it's a very simple design with 2 squares and a couple triangles. And this would eventually be filled out with a TC in the corner, 4 boxes, a tier 2, a couple bags, and a furnace or so wherever I could fit it. Later on, I moved to this design, which was basically the Arrowhead with a bunker attached and an extra loot room. Shortly after that, I decided to make it a little bit more spacious and a little bit more utility. If you drop down your foundation, you can place 3 furnaces inside and use that and get almost no negative effects from that, as long as your triangle in the front isn't the weakest point of entry. And as you can see, I also kicked out the TC 1 triangle so that I could fit more boxes. And then shortly after that, I really wanted a end game base design that I could use, and not only that, one that you entered from the 2nd level. And the reason for that was plain and simply, having high ground when you look out your door is usually going to help you when it comes to getting door camped, not only when you're leaving, but also if you're heading back. And this base design ended up looking more like a shuriken than anything, with the 3 triangles at the edge of each square foundation. But in the end, the entire idea was based off of the little divot that I got from my initial base design. Now, the issue with this base was plain and simply, it costed too much to build early, and there wasn't a proper way to transition the initial shuriken into a decent starter base. And so I went back to square one, but with a few improvements. Seeing as how the bunkers are no longer a thing, I stopped adding that on. But what I did change was the fact that I added yet another square, not only for more space, but for also one key feature. And that was when, if you got through one door and the second was open, you no longer now have visual on the TC. And of course, later on in this build, there's more doors blocking this, so they can't even splash the wall. Now, just so you guys get a clear idea of what I'm talking about, we'll go back to a previous example. As you can see here, you'd always have some type of visual on the TC with only 1 triangle kicking out or said TC. And that's when I came up with the idea to not only use this base as my starter, but also transition it into my main later down the road. And as many people know, this is not a common thing that you can do with many base designs unless you're getting a lot of stone early on. But as you may have noticed, this base isn't massive, but what it does have is a lot more expandability than the common 2x2. And if you need me to prove it, you can look at this base right here, which is the Arrowhead V3. I'm very well aware the overall shape has changed, but this base all came from this tiny thing. So as you can see, this is definitely the same exact same recording session, and now we're going to get into going through the base little by little to show you guys exactly what each individual piece is used for and why I decided to put it there. So first off, you immediately notice the front door. There's a way to not only see out but shoot out any door campers that are sitting too close. Now past that, if you look up, you'll also notice multiple floor grates, which allows you to see if anybody snuck up onto your roof while you were AFK, or maybe you couldn't hear them over the furnaces. I also wanted to show you just how many garage doors you're going through to move throughout this base. Obviously, I'd keep them all up to give it a more open feel when you are home, but in general, it's a lot of security. Now, another way to spot door campers is right here. If you're not going to expand any further than you are now, or you're okay with a temporary solution that you'll have to break later, you can place floor spikes around the base to prevent people from possibly even being able to sneak up. So even if you don't see them, you'll at least hear them when they run into the spikes. Now, obviously, it's the same on the other side. Another garage door here, and then 2 more high quality doors, 2 more garage doors, which open to your main crafting area and respawn spot, as well as your main loot, barbecue, TC, furnace or fireplace, and furnaces. And there should actually be a garage door here, but I didn't want to pick up the boxes and place it, so let's just pretend like it was. And obviously, I always want to have the double small box placement whenever you have a tier 3. I'm moving on to the 2nd floor. Yet another way to see out and get a vantage point. And of course, if you wanted to put metal window bars here and vertical or horizontal embrasures, you could also do that. Just make sure you upgrade your roof so they can't spear through. And then we have multiple furnaces that you can use on both sides of the base, that if you're worried about people exploiting as a weak point, you can have your reinforced windows placed down. If you don't want to go all the way down to the front door, if you have a skin that can see up, you can check to see if there's anybody on top of your airlock like this. And then This second floor can be used for pretty much anything. You could even use it as another crafting area if you get loaded enough, or you could just straight up split the loot and separate these out completely. So even if you do get raided, if they don't completely wall you off, you can come back and grab some loot. But as you can see, this base is chock full of possibilities. There's even a way to expand if you really want to go further up. But before I show you guys how to build it, I'm going to show you guys a few times where I've gotten a base to this point on a vanilla server. So let's go check that out. All right, so here's the entrance, so you can see anybody at your door. Okay, here's the sides, dragon trap here, floor grate right here, and this is just an oil smelter bullshit. And this is the roof. I should upgrade this area to metal or something, I don't know, we'll see. And then this is the upper area I haven't used yet, and this is here. See out, come up here, and notice the skins I'm using. These are extra furnaces. The skins I'm using allow me to see through, so and even like jump. Obviously, if you use a metal double door, like a high qual one, you can open those and see through there. Relax, dude. That's a me thing again. Relax.
Okay, mister. I'm gonna do push-ups so I can keep up and stay healthy.
Oh my fucking bad, dude. I'm sorry. I'm looking already bigger than I was a couple days ago. What do you want from me?
Hey dude, I'm not hating on you. I wish I had the fucking
the channel points.
It's good to have like a little bit of motor. Yeah. Oh, I wish I had the channel points or somebody to make me do push-ups. Yeah, that's right. Instead of me just making myself do.
Yeah, that shit's hard, bro. I gotta have a reminder from like a couple hundred people just spamming me with fucking.
I'm fucking sitting here on my desk with my feet up on my couch, like shit. I guess I gotta do some push-ups instead of watching.
No wonder you can't fucking aim. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
All right, so now's the final part where I'm actually going to build the thing. And as you saw in the previous two clips where I pointed to the first time where I completed the design and also where I'd gotten it the furthest, you saw some small differences, and that's because not only did I make subtle changes, but on top of that, I just grew with the base design and changed what I thought needed to be changed as I went. But to build the thing, which is the reason you're probably here, we started off with a low triangle and a hopefully relatively flat area. And then from there on, we do 2 adjacent square foundations that are raised. And then we add 2 triangles behind that, which should end up looking something like this. And shortly after, you're going to want to turn around, add another raised triangle attached to the original point. And now you have the basic design. And I'm just going to go straight to metal, just for the sake of it. And when it comes to placing furnaces, this is a big tip. I'd recommend, if you're gonna start off at stone, getting them down then, because it's harder to place it with metal because the hitboxes are slightly bigger, but you can fit all 3 even with metal. But as soon as you upgrade to high qual, if you remove any of the furnaces that were in there, you will no longer be able to place them, because once again, high qual has a very weird hitbox. You will always be able to upgrade the high qual, but you will not be able to replace the furnaces. Now we're gonna go with the usual spot that I usually go. And we're also going to wrap. Basically, I'm just going to place all the walls that you're going to need. And I think that about covers it. And then we'll do the doorways. And then we'll do the roof. So once again, straight to metal here. Do stone for these. Because if you don't have high qual doors, there's no real reason to do metal. Okay, moving forward. As you can see, we have the spot for our Ferni. We have the TC location, which usually goes here. And now we're gonna move to the, what I don't know what you call it, the front area. I don't have good names for these. And this will also end up being our jump up post to get to the next level, as well as the next best area to put bags down for anybody that wants to come play. And then we'll place down the squares, as well as any other honeycomb that you deem necessary, which I just do a bunch of triangles on the back. So now I'm going to fill out all the honeycomb because it's the simplest part, because this can get a little complex, aka the area where you can shoot through the stairs, if you don't understand how each individual part works. So let's get this honeycomb done. Now, I want to be abundantly clear. At this point, there is a personal decision to be made. Now, if you place your wall this way and upgrade it, you have to recognize that if the person trying to raid your base goes through your doors, breaks this, they now have access to a part of your core. Whereas if you place a wall and have it upgraded this way, they have to use explosives at least to get to that part of your core. And especially if you end up upgrading this later down the line, as you can see, it makes it so if they are to blow through this area, instead of going through the garage doors and the multiple doors to get to the main, they will still end up reaching another door and then multiple garage doors or yet another wall. So personally, I like to flip it towards me. We'll do the same on the other side. So now at this point, we kick out 2 triangles, foundations, and then put down 2 door frames for, as you can see on that side, the metal shop fronts. Now, yet another very important thing to acknowledge when using shop fronts is that you do not want to place this one first. And you may ask the question of why. If you place this one first, for some reason, the hitbox kicks out just a little too far on here, and you can no longer place this one. So what you always want to do when placing your metal shop fronts, you always want to make sure the one that does not interfere with the corner is placed first, aka this one, which should mean that you have no trouble placing this one down, and voila, you can use these instead of having to use a box for the lift up, or you can flip them if you want to put a box here, because these obviously do have a hitbox. Now let's add the roof, obviously leaving this spot for the jump up. And now here comes a semi-complicated part that isn't that complicated once you fully understand it. So we're going to do a lowered foundation, and then we're going to do 2 half walls. Upgrade them. And then we're going to do another half wall here. We're going to do a raised foundation step. We're going to come back here. We're going to place the actual doorway first, then both the walls. And then after getting to this step, you can finally break out the half wall. And if you do not do it that way, if you don't have these 2 walls here, or at least 1 wall here, when you break this half wall, this will not stay here because nothing to latch onto. As you can see, it's very low stability. Then once you upgrade everything to stone, you're going to want to place a low wall underneath the stairs to make sure that nobody can crouch in and do any type of weird jumps to bypass your airlock. And then, of course, as we showed earlier, you're going to make a frame for the fuller grill. And voila, your pristine airlock is done. Now, of course, it's a simple fact of just duplicating what you had initially. Not honeycombing this portion so you can use it for your windows. Repeating the same process on the other side. Making sure not to use these as honeycomb either, since you probably most likely plan to use these as also extra furnace areas. Your garage door slot. Fuck. And you can either leave this half walls, or if you do plan on adding another level fairly soon, I'd recommend using full walls because it will latch onto it. And this will bring it easier to your 3rd floor. One of the things I want to mention, it's very not precise. There will always be some small variations, not only based on the area that you're in, but also what you're going for. If you want to cap out at 2 levels, high qual the core and metal the exterior, it's going to be strong. If you want to honeycomb the honeycomb, it's going to be strong. It's all about how much resources you're willing to put into this space. It doesn't have an insanely large footprint, but it's very compact. It's fairly spacious if you keep the garage doors open. And in most cases, it's going to prevent door campers. It's going to stop people from wanting to raid you if they can see that your core is high qual. So with that in mind, I hope that I did a good enough job to explain and show what this space is capable of, what it looks like, and you know, what it's for. I don't think I'm some master builder. I don't think I'm insanely creative. I don't think I've put anything into this space that's never been done before. But I'm the first person that I believe to put all these pieces together to make this, because that's why I've never seen this space design before. And make sure that you make your own variations, your own little secret spots, your own little additions or changes, alterations, whatever. So with that, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your day, and even greater tomorrow. I have a ton of fucking content and a 2nd channel that I'm working on. A lot of it's still in the works though, and I'll give you updates as they come along, or, you know, of course, videos. Hope you guys have a great rest of your night, a great rest of your day, and an even greater tomorrow. Peace.